Are you ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. A big shout out to my producer today, Lydia. Lydia, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a bit of an anxiety day, but I'm managing.
Well, and then I think this is going to be a good show for you because it's about traveling out of your comfort zone to create the life you love. And that could be because of anxiety, of trying new things, or just being stuck. So I want to really get into the show right away because I love this area. And our guest is a wonderful woman who I had the great pleasure of being on stage with just this past August, because many of us are really stuck living a humdrum lives because of fear. But moving out of our comfort zone into the growth zone, which is where we always want to try to strive to be, is where we will find our purpose and live out our dreams. And if we can get uncomfortable, or like I say, get comfy being uncomfy long enough to get out of on the other side of that comfort zone, it's really possible to create a life that you truly love. And that is exactly what my guest, Pamela Odom, and I will be discussing today. But let me tell you a little bit about her. Pamela is a founder of CDM Consulting, a company that specializes in offering caring, dependable, and motivational services designed to help women create their best lives through speaking engagements, relaxation coaching, retreats, and storytelling through books. Pamela started her career working as a teacher and has worked with the public school system for more than 25 years. So thank you so much for that, because we need more good teachers. But among her many accomplishments, she holds several educational degrees. She is a Professional Woman Network, PWN board member, fellow board member, yes, as well as a PWN certified youth and parenting trainer and a certified diversity training with special emphasis in women's issues. And when Pamela is not teaching or assisting women with creating their best lives, she's a woman of my own loving to do. You can find her relaxing in a hot bath, taking a walk, shopping, or spending time with her family. Please help me welcome Pamela Odom. Pamela, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So what got you into this line of work? I mean, I feel like it's a natural transition because you're teaching, but coaching can be very different, especially when it's adults. So how did you kind of get into this line of work?
Well, if I could, I would like to just start by sharing part of my story.
Yes.
If that's okay. So I was married at the age of 24. I had my first child when I was 25, the second one at 29, and the third one at 32. By the time the third child was born, my marriage was already falling apart, and I was trying to hold on to the dream of what I thought a marriage should be. I was with a man whose behavior indicated to me that he didn't want me or his family. I now realized that he had his own issues and really just didn't know how to be a husband, how to be the husband that I needed him to be, or the father that I needed and wanted him to be. I was married for 14 years and was unhappy most of the time. I finally got a divorce when I was 38. After about 6 months of the marriage, though, I knew in my gut, I knew that it wasn't going to work out. But I love my husband, and I decided to keep trying. As I look back on this now, I realized that I was afraid to be alone because I had moved straight out of my parents' house into the house with him. And then when the babies came, I was afraid that I would not be able to make it on my own with them. So I just stayed. I also stayed because I was ashamed that I was not able to keep my marriage and my family together. I was ashamed of what people would say and think about me. I had been raised up in the church, so I had been taught that divorce was not a good thing. And so just even the thought of a divorce was very condemning to me. So, but I didn't just pop up with the idea that, hey, let me get a divorce. It was because I had gone through a lot with my husband, and he wasn't very supportive at the house or with helping with the kids. My expectation was when I got married that he would be someone that would be of comfort to me and that would build me up and encourage me. But instead, um, he did things like call me fat, which made me realize that, or when I looked in the mirror, I actually saw a fat person. And right now I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I don't consider myself fat. So, but that was the start of the end. Or the start of the end was when his mistress showed up on my doorstep at midnight one night to let me know that she was having an affair with my husband. I say it was the start of the end because I stayed with him another year and a half after that incident, simply because I didn't have enough confidence to do anything else. During that time, I begged him to to stop seeing the other woman and be the husband and the father that I needed him to be, the husband to me and the father to my children. He would say that he was going to stop, but when a certain time of night came and he wasn't at home, I knew where he was. I continued to beg him until one night he was gone into midnight. It was a Saturday night, and it was the Saturday night before Mother's Day. And for some reason, that was the night that I just decided that I had had enough. I left with my children. To be honest, I was just leaving to go and get a break from all the drama. But as life would have it, I never went back. So during that time, my mind was in a daze. There's still to this day a lot of things that I don't remember that happened during that time. I know that my children were my saving grace. They were what kept me going and moving in a direction. I didn't know the direction to go in, but I knew that I had to hold myself together and to continue to guide them because they were dependent on me. I also knew that although my life was very chaotic during that time, the chaos had become a comfort zone for me. And I wasn't able to move out of that chaos until that chaos became too uncomfortable for me to stay in any longer.
And good for you, right? To move on. It took a lot, but so many of us have been in something like that, right? In some sort of situation that's holding us back. And even though we're uncomfortable, we're comfortable because we've got that fear, which I don't want to get into that yet, because I know we're going to talk about that in one of the other segments. But let's talk about comfort zone, right? What is a comfort zone?
So your comfort zone is just that. It's a place where you feel comfortable. This comfort is a place that we are familiar with. It's where all our routines take place and where we feel the most in control. Our comfort zone is the place where we like to hang out. Is all the people, places, and behaviors that cause us little to no stress. Comfort zone people are our family members, our co-workers. But it's those that we get along with because we know that we have family members and co-workers that when we see them coming, we want to go the other way. Comfort zone people are also our friends, and usually our friends are our friends because they do provide a place of comfort for us. But again, if our friends get too stressful for us, we're several ties with them as well, because as human nature says, we're actually designed to naturally seek out comfort. So our comfort zone places, for example, are those places that we frequently visit, like the same restaurant, the same coffee shops, or the same stores. My favorite is TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And then those comfort zone behaviors include things like driving to and from work the same way, ordering the same meal at the same restaurant, going out to the same place with the same friends on the same day of the week. So as you can see, living in our comfort zone allows us to feel like we are safe and in a very comfortable space. But that safe place will keep us stuck living in a very boring humdrum life.
Yeah, no, and I get it when people want to be comfortable, right? It's that safety net. And I think at certain times in our lives, we do need that safety net just to get ourselves together. But why is it so difficult for people to get out of that comfort zone and move into that growth zone?
Well, actually, I learned this not too long ago, is that I guess I actually already knew it, but just hadn't put it together yet. But being in our comfort zone or staying in a comfortable place is not just all our fault, because our brains actually work to help us to stay stuck in a comfortable place. We all have feelings, and feelings are caused by the release of chemicals in our brain. When we are comfortable and life is good, our brain releases chemicals like dopamine, which lead to happy feelings. Now, dopamine is responsible for allowing you to feel pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. When you feel good that you have achieved something, it's because you have a surge of dopamine in your brain. So when we are comfortable, our brain releases these chemicals, which cause us to feel happy. But on the other hand, when we are uncomfortable or in unfamiliar territory, whether it's learning something new, going to a new place, or meeting someone new, we can experience negative feelings such as anxiety, fear, and stress. These feelings stop the release of happy chemicals and cause the release of chemicals from our brain like adrenaline. So that's what causes us not to want to move. Adrenaline triggers the body's fight or flight response. This reaction causes air passages to dilate to provide the muscles with oxygen they need to either fight danger or flee. Adrenaline also triggers the blood vessels to contract to redirect blood towards major muscle groups, including the hearts and lungs. So as our bodies prepare for dealing with potentially harmful undesired situations, the release of the chemicals cause our senses to be heightened, our hearts begin to race, our breathing becomes more rapid, and our bodies begin to sweat. This chemical release varies in severity depending on how far we really are out of our comfort zone. So basically, if we feel safe, our brains release chemicals which allow us to be relaxed and happy. If we feel unsafe, our bodies tense up and prepare to deal with an unstressful situation. So because of this, because of the way our bodies react with discomfort, is why we tend to just stay in that comfortable space.
Yeah. And so it's, so blame your bodies, folks. It's not you, it's your body. But I think, we all have that, right? It's that natural reaction. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about fear. But before we go, Pam, tell folks how they can reach you.
You can reach me at a website at thecdmexperience.com, or email me at cdmconsulting@outlook.com. I'm also on Facebook at CDM Consulting and Instagram at CDM Consulting.
Wonderful. So don't go anywhere, listeners. We are right here coming back shortly on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Pam Odom. Pam, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
So in this segment, we're talking about fear and how it affects our movement in and out of our comfort zone. So I know you've got a little story you want to tell us, Pam. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, as I stated before, I was in a marriage that had become a comfortable place for me. And although it was chaotic, the thought of leaving it was more frightening than just staying in it. If I left it, what was I going to do? How would I make it on my own? Who would help me with my children? Where would I live? Did I have enough money to support me and my kids? There were a lot of questions, and I didn't have a definite answer for any of them. If I stayed, I could answer those questions and would stay in that comfortable space. But to leave, I had no answers, and that took me way out of my comfort zone.
And I think that is so important because fear can paralyze us. And we don't know what to do. And so instead of doing anything, we just stop, right? I mean, I know how many times where I've dreaded doing a task. There was something that I had to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And so I just didn't do anything instead of tackling it head on. And fear is a real thing. I mean, I always like to look at it instead of saying fear is that thing that scares us. I try to look at it as either face everything and rise or false evidence appearing real. And because our mind, you know, it's kind of like negative self-talk. The more you tell yourself you're fat, you're ugly, you can't do something, the more it becomes true and the more you believe it. Mm-hmm. So that's false evidence right there. You are not fat, you are not ugly, you can do it. And so having that false evidence appear real really stops us. So fear on so many levels is such a big thing. And it does make us stop from moving forward, moving out of our comfort zone and moving into that growth zone. But why is it so important to move out of that comfort zone? If people are comfortable where they're at, why do we ever have to move?
Well, because fear keeps us, it just keeps us in a life that we don't, if we stay stuck in fear, it keeps us in that life that we really have not dreamt of. It keeps us just stuck. It becomes a habit. And we just stay stuck in that place. And it's real easy to do because once you become frozen, fear causes us to avoid responsibility because we think that our experiences are beyond our control. We avoid making decisions. We avoid solving problems. I know for me, I have been in a situation where I had a lot of bills to pay and didn't know how I was going to get them paid. So I just looked at the pile of bills because I was just stuck, you know. And so it stops us from solving problems or going after what we want in life, because fear keeps us from going after our hopes and dreams. Only about 2%, actually, only about 2% of the population is really pressing forward and going into new areas and exploring new things, choosing to be happy and living life without limits. That means that 98% of us are still stuck. We're stuck in that life. And guess what? If life is not going to change until we decide to do something about it.
Yeah. And I think that is important to recognize is that when fear can be healthy, right? That like you were talking about in the first segment, the flight or fight response, because we need to have that. Because sometimes when our body doesn't know what to do, our brain will take over. But sometimes we have to get out of our own brain and move forward. And because fear can be very unhealthy for us. And that's one thing that we kind of forget sometimes. You know, it can have that healthy aspect to keep us out of danger, but it also helps, it prevents us from doing things that we would otherwise enjoy. or experiencing new things that we might enjoy, but we won't do because we're afraid, right? It's just like trying new things,
Yeah.
going out there and doing something different so that you can see if you like it, right? And you don't have to commit. I used to tell my son, we're not going to go sign up for something that we don't know if you're going to like or not, and go to a club and sign up for a 6-month course on something. We will do Park and Rec, and it's a 4 or 6 week thing. You can see if you like it, because if you hate it two weeks in, guess what? You're stuck, because I paid for it and you made a commitment, you're going.
That's
But
right.
if it's short, and I mean, I think adults forget that we can try new things. We can get outside of our comfort zone. Because how do you know if you like something, right? How do you know if you like that new food, or like that new genre of movie, or you enjoy salsa dancing, until you go and try it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to go and try, and that leads us to change. We've got to change what we're doing. We've got to, because my definition of stupid is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So we've got to change.
Yes. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But I do want to ask one more question about fear. So in your scenario, you were fear of the unknown, and you almost seemed to get stuck because you were surviving. You were in survival mode as opposed to thriving mode. And I think that's one thing that fear in the comfort zone, also where we get stuck, is that we're too busy just surviving, just trying to put one foot in front of the other, that we forget we are designed to thrive. We are designed to make the most out of our lives and move forward. And I think if anybody gets anything out of this segment, is to know that is why it's important to move out of your comfort zone, right? We aren't born. We aren't here to just survive. We are here to live. We are here to thrive, and we are here to make the most of our lives.
Yes. And I would say that based on what you were saying, that yes, I was just surviving. At the time, of course, I didn't know it, but for a long time, I had just lived in a space where I was just going through the motions of life. And not only that, but even just growing up and in the home that I was in, I had good parents, but they sheltered me a lot. And so they spoke a lot of fear into me that I carried on over into my adult life. And, once I ended up in this place, I didn't have the coping mechanisms to even know what to do. And so I was just stagnated there, just stuck, until I, could get my thoughts together enough and decide to do something different.
Yeah. So I think, listeners, if you take anything out of this, is that comfort zone, it's a mental state, right? I mean, it's a physical state as well, but it's a mental state, and it's not going to allow us to go to a personal growth. So based on what I'm hearing here, if you need reasons to move out of that comfort zone, it's to be a stronger person, to potentially be more creative. It allows you to gain that self-confidence, to do your self-esteem a little bit of a boost. It will help you with that continued personal development. And I think most important, it will help you meet new people and live that new rewarding experiences that you may not be experiencing right now. So I think let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Because we want to get into change, and I really want to spend some time on that, because we want to talk about change and the effects it has on really getting outside your comfort zone and living that life you deserve. But before we go, Pam, tell folks how they can reach you.
Okay, you can reach me on my website at thecdmexperience.com. My email is cdmconsulting@outlook.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at CDM Consulting.
Wonderful. And you also have a women's retreat coming up. Tell listeners how they can learn more about that and to register and when it is, all the details.
Okay, well, I have a women's retreat that's coming up the weekend before Valentine's Day, so we can just go and just love on ourselves a little bit. The details are is on my website at thecdmexperience.com. And the dates are February the 9th through the 12th.
Wonderful. So go look that up, folks. You won't want to miss this retreat. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Pam Odom. Pam, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
So now during the last segments, we talked about what is comfort zone and what is some of our comfort zones and how fear stops us from moving out of our comfort zone. But now let's talk about change. What will it take for us to travel out of that comfort zone?
Okay, so change usually falls outside of our current comfort zone. In our comfort zone, we feel safe and in control. Change or movement out of that zone leads to growth. But before we can get to the growth zone, we have to go through the fear and the learning zone. In the fear zone, we lack confidence, we find excuses, and we are affected by other people's opinions. In the learning zone, we deal with challenges and problems, and we acquire new skills. As we're moving through these different zones, our level of comfort is expanding and our comfort zone is getting larger and larger. So as we experience new things and we keep doing those things, we keep expanding. For instance, say you're afraid to speak in public and you get an invitation to speak at a conference. You're terrified, but you push through all your fears. And once you get to the end of the speech, you realize that it wasn't that bad at all. So you're proud of yourself for having the courage to show up and to present, and your confidence begins to start soaring. Now, the next time you're faced with that same type of experience, you still might be a little nervous, but you will not be quite as nervous as you were before because you are continuing to expand your comfort zone. So as we move from comfort zone through the fear and the learning zones, we get to the growth zone. In the growth zone is where we set new goals, we conquer all of our objectives, we find our purpose, and we live out our dreams. The initial decision to move from comfort to growth can be hard. It can be anything from getting a divorce to starting a new relationship or going on a solo road trip. So while going through my divorce, I was devastated. It was very traumatic for me. But once on the other side of the divorce and healing from it, which it took some time to do that, I began to feel a tugging to help other women. I had no desire for another woman to feel what I had experienced. I wanted all women to be empowered to create their best lives. I once heard someone say that out of our pain, we will find our purpose. So on my job, I created a group called Women Supporting Women. I started a divorce care group at my church. As time went on, I continued to have that nudging that I needed to do something. And so I began to look for some training that would equip me with the knowledge that I needed to help as many women as possible. I found a training on the internet, and according to the description, it was just what I had been searching for. I was so excited until I saw the location. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, growing up, I was very sheltered, and because of this, I had not driven more than 1 hour away from my home. Louisville was 9 hours and 13 minutes away. So how in the world was I going to get from Mobile, Alabama to Louisville, Kentucky? The very thought of driving that gripped my heart with fear. After a while, I decided that I would register for the conference. I was afraid, but I knew that I had to do it. At first, I didn't tell anybody about my plans because I knew that they would try to hinder me from going. By the time the conference came around, I had decided that I was going to do some other things. And so I started my trip in Mobile. I stopped at my brother's house in Huntsville, Alabama. I went on to the conference, attended the conference. When I left there, I drove on to Charlotte, North Carolina to visit one of my friends. From there, I went to Durham, North Carolina to visit another friend. I came back to Charlotte. Then I went on to Atlanta. Some of my relatives was having a baby shower. They didn't invite me, but I just crashed it anyway. And then from Atlanta, I came on back home to Mobile. At the end of my trip, I had driven 2,100 miles alone. To date, that has been the most impactful trip of my life. After that trip, I found myself being more confident. My self-esteem began to soar. I began to believe in myself with greater confidence. I began to trust myself, and I began to trust my decisions, my decision-making skills. The more I made decisions, the more I believed that my decisions were good for me. With increased confidence, that led me to improved self-esteem. I began to feel that I was worthy of all good things, and that all good things that would, should, and could happen to me were good for me. With greater confidence and improved self-esteem, that led me to an insane belief that I could do anything that I put my mind to.
Amen.
I started dreaming bigger dreams. I set goals and saw them to fruition. I could now be vulnerable enough to live my life on my own terms, and I didn't need anybody else's permission to do it. This growth was not something that happened overnight. It wasn't anything that happened when I got back to Mobile, but it has continued to be a continual and gradual process that I've been going through to continue to grow and develop daily.
And that all came from one change, right? It came from a change that you decided that you needed to make, right? Even if it was forced upon you. So I think listeners, don't think that if it's forced upon you doesn't mean it can't be great, right? There is greatness in if we look at it in every opportunity. It may not be great at the moment, but it might take time. And like you said, it's nothing that's going to happen overnight or automatically. It's going to take time to build. Just like any good process, we have to be patient, we have to trust the process, and we have to move forward. And I think the biggest thing that I got out of what you just said is one way to combat that fear and to move outside your comfort zone and to really live outside your comfort zone is to become familiar with that discomfort. You know, it's to choose something, whether it's every day, every week, every month, every year, something that scares you, and go and do it. And you gotta try, because you might be amazed at how much you love it. You might be amazed at how strong you truly are once you go and do it.
And that is so very true, because after that trip, I have been on so many more trips where I was not even leaving out of my city. You know, and so I participate with a girls group where we do a girls trip every year, and we just go to a lot of exciting places. But if I had not taken the step and stepped out and did that one trip, I would probably still just be sitting at my house in Mobile, Alabama.
Well, and I'm so glad that you did take that trip, because it gave me the opportunity to meet you this summer as well. So, you know, it's got a ripple effect, folks. It really does. You'd be amazed at the people, the places that you meet and go, and the pure joy that you can have in your life when you just take that one step. And it doesn't have to be a leap, guys. It doesn't have to be where you are doing some major thing. It's that one step that goes one in front of the other until pretty sure you're like climbing a mountain, and you didn't even realize you were climbing the mountain, because all you were doing was taking that one step.
And that is so true. And that makes me think about when I talk to my son and I tell him that I don't really care about you making a big leap. I don't really care about you making a whole step. If you just have just a little movement, but as long as it's movement forward,
Yeah.
as long as we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And understanding that you might fall, you might fail, but don't look at failure as a bad thing. I used to tell my volleyball girls, do you know what fail means? And they're like, yeah, you did bad. I go, nope, it's first attempt in learning. You did something, oh, maybe you did it wrong, maybe you didn't do it very well, but you learned. So failure is first attempt in learning, just like fear, like we said last segment, is either face everything and rise, or false evidence appearing real. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to wrap up today's episode with saying yes to creating the life you love. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay and sign up for helpful tips. Subscribe for special events and pricing on upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Pam Odom. Thank you, Pam. But before we wrap up today's episode, tell listeners how they can reach you, find out about your services and your upcoming retreat.
Okay, I can be reached on my website at thecdmexperience.com. My email is cdmconsulting@outlook.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at CDM Consulting. I do have a retreat that's coming up February the 9th through the 12th. It is a women's retreat where we're going to relax, rejuvenate, and reconnect. It is the weekend before Valentine's Day. And so that information, if you'd like to have more information on that, it is February the 9th through the 12th. It is on my website, again, at thecdmexperience.com.
Wonderful. So the last segments we talked about, what is a comfort zone? What holds us back? This is that fear of the unknown and just plain old fear. And then what it takes to change, right? To have that change mindset, to start moving outside of the comfort zone. But what do we need to do to create the change? We need to move out of our comfort zone to design that life we love.
Well, we just need to simply say yes. We need to say yes. Yes is such a small word, just 3 little letters, but it is very powerful. And so to move out of our comfort zone and create the life we love, we need to say yes more often. We need to say yes to facing our fears. Often we try to keep our fears buried because we don't want to deal with them. But for some of our fears, not facing them is depriving us of potentially exciting new opportunities and growth. We need to say yes to taking risks. We're already risk takers. We take risks every day, whether we do it consciously or unconsciously. It is a part of our daily life. If you decide to do something, that's taking a risk. If you decide not to do the thing, you're risking missing out on the possibilities of what could happen. So in order to create the life we love, we need to take risks. We also need to say yes to challenging ourselves.
Yes.
When we challenge ourselves, we become stronger, more confident, and purposeful. We need to say yes to setting goals. Set goals that are motivational and important to you. This is going to keep you motivated to see that goal through to the end. Motivation is the key to achieving goals. We're going to say yes to believing in ourselves. When we believe in ourselves, we have self-confidence and believe that we can act, change, and push through to make things better. We also would say yes to trying new things that can lead to new opportunities. New experiences can open your eyes, mind, and your heart to new discoveries. And lastly, in order for us to create that life we love, we need to say yes to never giving up. When we make the decision to never give up, we eliminate fear. We try the things that other people are afraid to do, and we believe that our dreams are possible. Never giving up leads us to happiness. When we achieve success, we feel happy because our efforts have paid off. We celebrate with joy because we have defeated all the difficult challenges. When we decide not to give up, we can enjoy our life more because there's happiness in our success. So to get on out of our comfort zone or out of our comfortable space and create the life we truly love, we need to say, we need to face our fears and say yes to change.
And I love that, Pam. It's so simple, right? Because how many times have you been invited someplace, listeners, or you see something in a newspaper or on TV or on the internet, and you're like, well, that kind of looks like fun. And then you're like, oh, no, oh, I'm not good at that. Or, oh, I don't have anybody who will go with me.
Mm-hmm.
We automatically in our head set ourselves up to saying no. And it is just say yes.
Yeah.
Try it. And it doesn't have to be every day. It, do something once a week. I laugh because I love trying new things. Sometimes it scares the heck out of me, but there was something when my son first went into boot camp years ago that he made me say, I need you to try something new once a week, and you write me and tell me about it. And so that was a goal, because of course, I mean, I wrote him every day, the poor kid. He came home with this like pack of letters because I wrote him literally every day. But it was fun. And it was fun because I was still sharing the experience with him, but I was trying something new. And he goes, and it can't be something we've already done. And we tried a lot of different things. So it had to be something totally new. And I met people. And that's one thing I think sometimes people forget. If you're interested in something and you don't know anybody, it's okay. Go by yourself, because at least somebody's there is interested in the one thing you're going there to do. So you already have a common interest. You might just make a new friend.
And with you saying that, you have just encouraged me. I've been trying to join a bicycling group.
Oh, there you go.
But didn't know anybody. And so I've just been putting it off, making those excuses as to why I haven't done it. But I'm going to do it now. I'm going to go and
right, because anybody else there has an interest in cycling. And it's okay if you're a newbie. You can learn from people. And I think that's one thing that's important for folks to know. You might not be the expert, and that's okay, but there's other people who were new once too. And most people will help you. Yeah. And it's good, because get comfy being uncomfy, folks, because the only constant in life is change. Everything will be changing. Everything will be moving forward. And if we don't move forward with it, we're going to be left behind. So you want that life, you got to go out and make that change. You got to go out and make that effort. And as you've seen with our guest here today, she did just that in so many different ways. And Pam, the women you work with, you are such an inspiration for, and please don't ever think that you're not, because I mean, you got me all worked up now. I'm doing this. I'm going out and doing this tonight. So before we wrap up today's show, is there any last minute tips that you want to give listeners?
I just want to say that if you're stuck living a life that you're not totally satisfied with, my hope is that you will get uncomfortable long enough to get out of your comfort zone, because the life you love is just on the other side of your yes to the changes you make when you travel out of your comfort zone.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Pam, for being with us today. I appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best of luck. Check out her website and her social media page to get more information on that upcoming retreat in February. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode or want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. Before I sign off, remember to ask yourself, am I living a rooted life? If the answer is no, then take action to make that answer a yes. One way to take action is to set up your free Empower Hour call with me. No charge, no obligations. Go to getrootedradio.com to find out how I can help you take action. And if you're ready to live, love, and let go, join me for my signature 12-week group coaching series, The Rooted Life. This series will assist you in achieving your goals and moving forward by letting go of the things that no longer serve you, learning to love yourself and others fully, and living life to its fullest. Go to getrootedradio.com to learn more about the 12-week series and to get that free Empower Hour. That's getrootedradio.com. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day. And I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.